Erin Lawler-Patterson, the Goodness Chick. I'm an addictions counselor, motivational speaker, author, and parent coach. Join me on the journey of navigating the joys and pitfalls of life, addressing parenting, giving back, mental health, addiction, and relationships. If it takes a village, then join me as one of those villagers. Villagers wanted. I got to tell you, I truly love being part of the Mental Health News Radio Network. It's an honor to be a part of their program. It's also, I want to give a shout out to Fire Mountain Residential Treatment Center that's located in Colorado, sponsor for Goodness Chick, makes this episode possible. And it's a program located in Colorado. When I tell you we have so many hurting kids, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to addiction, and to have a program that provides the skills, the treatment, and support and encouragement for our kids that's away from their comfort zone, that's away from their environment. Man, these guys are awesome. I am grateful for them, for what they're providing. I encourage you to check out their website, firemountainprograms.com. Good stuff, my friends. And as we roll into today's episode, last week, spent some time reflecting on how the holidays can really be a tough time for a whole lot of people. And with that, the layers that go along with that. On the heels of that, my focus this week is really on how the holidays, the focus with a lot of our kids. And sometimes we lose sight and we can focus on, the holidays are tough. Our focus can easily kind of sway towards adults. Kids can kind of get blurred or lost in transition with that. And as somebody who worked in the school system for a number of years, man, we've got a lot of kids out there. And maybe it's somebody that's sitting at your dinner table. Maybe it's a niece or a nephew. It's one of your grandchildren, somebody in your temple, somebody in an organization you're involved with, a kid you teach, counsel, whatever, the list goes on. I can guarantee you know somebody right now that's 18 and under that is not looking forward to the holidays. And it's not about making this sad, but it's about us inserting empathy in a way that maybe we haven't before. Why is a kid acting out during this time of year? Why is somebody seeming a little bit more isolated? What goes with that? And with today's guest, man, I think the world of her, a fellow SAC counselor, man, she's a rock star, wears her heart on her chest on the front lines with our kids. We need more of them, man. We need more helpers such as her, SAC counselors, teachers, and a lot of times it's hard to even know what these people are doing on the front lines with their kids, man, and what they see. So giving them a shout out right now, doing good stuff. And the holidays are tough for those in the helping field right now because it's an onslaught usually of kids that they're seeing hurting. Man, and nobody likes to see a hurting kid. And I believe it's finding ways to support and encourage not just our helpers, but our kids during this time of year. So I hope you tune in and just take some time to soak in what we're talking about in ways within the next few weeks. And as we have a new year ahead of us, ways that we can expound on kindness for our eyes and hearts to be more in tune in ways maybe they have never been before. Enjoy today's episodes, my friends. All right, we're rocking, baby. We're on. So after some minor technical difficulties, we're rocking out today. My friend Kristen is joining me here today from Medford Lakes, New Jersey. I got to give you a rep. And I'm in just outside of Jerusalem, Israel. So you've got a little bit of a time zone difference going on here. But kind of really, really excited, Kristen, to have you on the show today. Kristen Caputo, you are a student assistance counselor, correct, at a high school in South Jersey. And wanted to spend some time, because you are somebody who is very seasoned in this field, who's been working with young people and their families for a number of years. And you kind of popped in mind when it came to talking a little bit about how the holidays really kind of can affect our kids and their families. I talked a little bit about it in my last episode, but want to expound a little bit, especially with teenagers, in terms of what you see. And what are some of the challenges do you see when it comes to what some of our kids are facing during the holiday season? Because we have a lot of super happy kids running around with, reindeer antlers and exchanging gifts, and that's wonderful. But there's a lot of heartache involved in it as well. So what's your take on things?
Absolutely. It is a tough time of year for many. And I think it's an interesting perspective to think of the kids' point of view, because they don't have much control, as much control maybe perhaps as adults, and they're being pulled in a lot of different directions. A lot of our kids are coming from split families, or perhaps being raised by someone other than the biological parent. And what happens over the holidays is all of those ways that they may have those strained relationships, they become more pronounced during the holidays. And kids are pulled in different directions. Maybe I have to celebrate at one house, and then I have to go to another house, and I also have 2 sets of grandparents or 4 sets of grandparents, and I want to make everybody happy, but it's stressful trying to do all that. And sometimes I have to pick. Some families, I'm sort of in the middle. I feel bad if I go with mom this year and I haven't been with dad for the last number of years. I mean, there's a lot of that being pulled in so many directions. And then there are kids with loss. Anybody who's lost a significant family member, especially a parent, the holidays make it very difficult to deal with that.
Oh, man, it's heartbreaking.
Yes. And there's different kinds of losses. I think that's something that we see a lot, that the grieving process can also come not just from death, but kids dealing with abandonment. Perhaps there's an absent parent, or a parent who they no longer talk, and that absence again becomes that much more pronounced during the holidays. Yeah. And they wonder, will they reach out? Are they going to wish me Merry Christmas, whatever it is that they want, but they'll say they don't. They have so many mixed emotions about it.
Well, it's like a yo-yo, emotional yo-yo, that time of year where, I hate them and I'm upset at them for leaving me, but, everybody wants to feel loved. And will they call me, or will I get a present, or will they be present?
Absolutely.
I know one of the things that I think about, I'm going to say past 5 or 10 years, seeing an increase with grandparents raising their grandkids, because for a number of different reasons, but what comes to my mind most, I think in our area, when it comes to addiction, and how you have so many people that were at retirement age and now we're raising, whether it's elementary school kids to high school kids. What's your take on that, and how it affects the family dynamics as well as our kids during the holiday season?
First of all, I give them the utmost credit, because here I am, 44, raising a teenager and an almost teenager, and it's exhausting at this age. So to be that much older and keeping up with the pace and all that's going on in the teenage world, it's tough. But I agree. I do see a lot more grandparents taking the role of whether they have full guardianship or they are taking on a lot of the parenting responsibilities. Yeah. And whether it's probably a mix of some mental health issues as well as addiction issues. Right. But thank goodness they do step up, and they are there, and they are a stable force for these kids. A lot of kids in that position, they will express, what happens if something happens to my grandfather? Because they are older, that fear becomes that much more real for them. That anxiety becomes a very real piece of their everyday world.
Which is tough on the heart. And I think that, we talk about anxiety, we talk about stress, and how it's a trigger. And then we wonder why, I always say we all have layers. We have, I think, an increase with behavioral issues sometimes during the holidays with our kids. And it's not, to me, it's not, well, just being a jerk in black and white. They're doing this because what's the layers behind it that hurt, that I just want my dad here, or I just want, my mom, like whoever it is. I want things to be like they're supposed to be, and they're not. And one of my concerns is I think we're going to see an increase as time goes on, unfortunately, with more grandparents raising their grandkids when it comes to with I'm going to say the kind of the crisis we're in when it comes to addiction connected with mental health. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think talking more about it and being more sensitive around the holidays, I think is fair to those who are hurting, kind of thing. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you, because I think it's a very layered time of year.
And I think you bring up a really good point about it comes out in all different ways. The kid isn't going to say, most likely they're not going to say, hey, I'm really missing my mom right now, and that's why I'm feeling this way, and that's why I'm acting this way. It comes out by, I'm going to sleep in class today, or it comes out that I'm gonna leave class today, or tell this person off. And we have to understand some of the hurt and loss that's behind some of those behaviors. It comes out as a behavior, but that underlying feeling is heightened during this time. So we do see more behavioral issues. Yeah. We do see more of the breakdown, the emotional issues coming to the surface. It's supposed to be the happiest time of the year, the greatest season of all. And I think that expectation or that anticipation, because they know very well this isn't the happiest time of the year for me, and yet all around them it's supposed to be. So what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? They may not even be able to label it. They may not even know that that's what's behind it.
Yeah. When you're 15, it's hard to understand that. Yeah, to say this is why I'm feeling this way, and this is, I mean, but I think that's for us as adults, whether as educators, whether as parents, whether as extended family members, whatever, taking that into account, because I think we have so many kids right now, so many kids who are hurting this time of year. And it's like, when the Christmas music is playing, and I love Christmas music, and you're seeing all these kind of normal traditions going on that you want at home, but you don't have, of course you're going to feel either inadequate, or there's something wrong with me, or I'm ticked off and sad. So I feel like us stepping up to the plate a little bit more, maybe asking questions or finding ways to get, some quality, healthy time around those who are hurting. I mean, there's so many kids, it makes my heart break, where it's not all tinsel, it's not all presents, and it stinks.
And we haven't even touched upon the financial piece.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's so different. I mean, so many people go out of budget and go wild over the holidays with things that they're not in the budget. Mm-hmm. And then they're catching up, and they know the stress that comes January, when all those bills may come in, and I think there is a sense of keeping up with what are you getting, and especially then you have the social media piece of it's right in your face with everything is right there, and I think finding other ways that they can give, and that maybe giving to them in ways that are not materialistic. Mm-hmm. And we know our society really goes in a very materialistic way this time of year, and other times of the year. But I think that's a big piece too, that financial strain on the family who may already be, there's already financial concerns.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard to get out of that cycle, that mentality, because I do think there's obviously, like you said, a lot of pressure within our society. But when you've already started that kind of tradition, it's hard to get out of, but it's not impossible. I think we are so materialistic, and it's like, kids, you compare, I got this latest iPhone, and I got these, $90 pair of jeans. And to me, it's the opposite of what the holidays are really about. And I know one of the things I was really heavy with, as a SAC and as a parent was like, let's try to focus ourselves a little bit more on, like you had said, giving back and making, I think there's such beauty to and substance when I feel good about myself because I'm helping somebody else. And it's less about stuff. I mean, stuff at the end of the day, stuff, and stuff is empty. Those jeans wear, that, really cool, I don't know, whatever. I'm trying to think, iTunes gift card or whatever it is. Like, it's all frivolous really at the end of the day, even though they might not think so initially, but it is. And so finding more substance. And I think whether your kid's 6 years old or 18 years old, I don't think it's too late to kind of start new traditions. And I advise that with parents. I advise that with aunts and uncles, because we've gotten in this like sticky web of like, when it comes to just, you look on TV and every tree, it's like 50,000, gift boxes that are, well, they're all empty when they yell cut, like there's not stuff in there, but it puts this false, thought process in our kids' heads.
And then there's like how you said, it's just stuff, because there's people who are very financially able who I'll talk to those parents and say, I don't understand how they could be depressed. Mm-hmm. They have everything they could possibly want. And yes, these are people who do not have financial concerns and they have everything at their fingertips, but we know that depression and anxiety, all the mental health issues, addiction issues, they can cover any financial situation, any socioeconomic, whatever it may be. So I think that that's some of the piece there of the materialistic trying to fill that when it's human connection. I think that is really the key. And especially a lot of that. And are struggling to naturally do it, I think, because of the screens. And they have a phone in front of them. They don't have to feel that awkwardness of making a conversation when they can quickly text or Snapchat somebody rather than really getting in a human connection.
Yeah, which is, there's so much lost out on that whole thing. And I would say, as we've got most schools a week and a half off, kind of throwing at parents, maybe trying to disconnect a little bit from the cell phones, which I know is like, I mean, it's an addiction with so many of all ages, but just, board games to like chatting, actual conversation, because I think we have a lot of kids that don't know how to actually converse face to face without their phones, for more than just a few minutes. And that's part of, I think, with where we're at when it comes to so many of our kids really struggling with identity and struggling with this time of year. And it's, I don't know. I think it's a lot of things are convoluted when it comes down to social media being connected to that.
If that's a number one, if we could all, and parents, we have to, we know as adults, the phone can become it's ridiculous. An hour can go by and I think, I just lost an hour of my life sitting on this. And for kids, they need our guidance in that, and they need us to help them limit that time. And it's not, I'll tell my own kids, but it's not a punishment that I'm taking your phone. You haven't done anything wrong. Why are you taking it? Well, because you can't be glued to it at all times. So, but then on the flip side, when I've talked to some classrooms of kids, I do some presentations just on mental health issues, and we'll talk about the phones. And they will say, I love time when I was out in the woods and I didn't have a connection. It was kind of cool that after a couple of days, I really got to enjoy. They will say they appreciate that time, but they're not naturally going to do it on their own.
Right.
So I do think we need to help them with that and limit some of that, because what they're seeing out there is is this display of everyone puts out there all their happy pictures of who they're with, and there's that sense of inadequacy again, that I can't live up to that, or they'll even post their gifts around this time, and then it's, oh wow, I only got this. And I think limiting that is huge.
Yeah.
It really can help with, I mean, the increase in anxiety is through the roof. And if I think cell phones contribute to that in a big amount.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so hard because they're not willingly going to just hand their cell phone over and write you a thank you note because you took it from them. But I think especially when they're home, they're not in school. They're not, they have access pretty much 24/7 if we don't limit them to their phones. And it does get in their heads where, why didn't I only got 2 Christmas presents, or I really didn't get anything for Hanukkah or whatever it is. And my family picture doesn't look like this. And such and such isn't here this year, well, whether we talk about grief and loss or abandonment or finances, there's so many layers. And I do think us being sensitive to that is big time important, and finding ways that are not materialistically based to kind of spread goodness and kind of be a role model as adults with that, I think is a win-win when it comes to things. And I think we've really kind of picked up steam within different schools in kind of trying to send that message with different programs, which I think is awesome.
You bring up the piece of a lot of open time too. And that's scary for teenagers, especially teenagers who may not have the best home lives. We notice it coming up to the holidays. That week off, they'll never say, oh, I love school, I really like to be here. These aren't the kids they're not going to say that, but at the same time, they really don't look forward to a week at home.
Yeah.
It's not, it could present more stress for them. And like you said, they don't necessarily know how to fill that time. And it could be filled with the phone. It could be filled with other temptations where maybe an open house too. They can have parties. It's a time that addiction issues certainly come up, any kind of substance issues. The same thing coming up to the summer. We notice some of these, the kids who struggle during that time, they don't necessarily look forward to summer. Summer's not, they don't have summer vacations planned. It's a lot of downtime where I might be watching a lot of Netflix, but I miss going to school every day. I miss seeing my friends every day.
Yeah.
And
we have so many kids that really just want to be at school.
That's it.
Because it's the holidays now. I know my dad's going to be drinking more, or I know we're not going to have any food for the next 10 days. I'm not going to have a breakfast. I'm not going to have a lunch that's totally, provided for me like it would be at school, to the arguing. I mean, yeah, we have so many kids that they don't want to go home. And that, man, that breaks my heart.
Right. I mean, and I think the schools really provide a very nurturing second home, which is awesome that we have that and that we're a part of that. But knowing that's the highlight for some of these kids, that is their home where they feel most accepted or they feel at their best. So definitely another tough piece of the holidays.
Yeah. And with it being that, the other aspect of it for parents that are listening, being aware that with that downtime, whether it be with their cell phones or whether it be with decisions, it can be a trigger for our kids, whether it be with, this is a whole nother thing, with addiction, with using or triggering use because I'm sad and all these other things going on. So I do think, it's a great, beautiful time of year, but us keeping our ears and our hearts in tuned to the hurts of those around us is also a big one, and important, big time, because it has so many layers.
Yes, absolutely.
So I do want to say, Kristen, because I know we're on a time crunch here. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. Dealing with our technical difficulties with a 7-hour time delay. It's kind of crazy. And I want to just say, knowing that there's people such as you in our schools with a heart that is just that I've always respected and been in awe of, that you're an ambassador for our kids. And what a beautiful thing that is. And we need more of you. We need more of you. And we need, and that we have kids that just are seeking encouragement and seeking a shoulder to cry in this time of year. And I am grateful that you're one of those people, but I hope that you during the holidays take time for you, like so many of our helpers need to do, because they need to refill their cup as well. So for those of you helpers listening, take time to recharge and take time for yourself, because that's important. I want to thank you for tuning in today. Kristen, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and peace, love, and goodness, my friends.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's show, I encourage you to subscribe to Goodness Chicks Podcast and pass it along to your friends. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and have a great day.